Hi friends, Dr. Rob here. I'm so excited about what we're going to be doing in LeaderTribe over the next 4 weeks. This is a brand new study, just came out in this month's Harvard Business Review. But the study has taken 10 years to complete. It was primarily led by a researcher out of University of Copenhagen and the University of Chicago. Those were the two main researchers, but they had 14 researchers working on this study because they were studying CEOs and what makes them most effective. The first thing they wanted to know is, what do the best CEO candidates, what do they do differently than the rest? And so they did a total, listen to this, 17,000 studies. And 2,000 of those were with CEOs of different companies, but 17,000 studies. So they know that they nailed the research on this one. As a matter of fact, after they were all done and they had the research, they went out and did 70 more studies just to validate it, to make sure it was correct. And guess what? It was. And so as I report these things to you over the next few weeks, I just want to tell you, we know that this stuff is true. It's going to be really, really helpful for you. It's going to be helpful for me. Now you're going, hey, Rob, that's fine, but I'm not a CEO, certainly not a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Hey, nor am I, nor do I ever plan to be. But here's why this information is so good. This is just personal growth information. These same 4 things that they learned that made them effective make people effective. Make me effective if I'm just the CEO of only my own life. Anytime you're leading people, perhaps leading your family, leading friends, leading something in the community, this will be helpful. But apart from that, it will just make you a better person. So basically what happened is they found out what made candidates better candidates than others. And one of the things that helped people get elected to become the CEO was somebody who was really confident and in themselves and outgoing. And so that what they did is they took that and they said, okay, somebody who's confident and outgoing, they had about a twice as likely to get selected for CEO. Did that really help them once they became CEO? And the answer was no. There was no correlation whatsoever. That didn't help them. The same thing that helped them get the job didn't necessarily help them do the job. Now, over this 10-year study, 25% of all those CEOs had been let go. So you got these boards of directors hiring CEOs, super smart people, and they're getting it wrong 25% of the time. And you know what's next after that? Not only are they getting it wrong, but a lot of the CEOs who didn't get fired, but they're not doing that great of a job. They're not taking the company to new heights. They're just doing average or a poor job. But then there was this one group, those superstar CEOs, the top performers. And they said, what sets them apart? And out of all the behaviors they looked at, they found that there were 4 primary behaviors. And that's what we're going to be looking at over the next 4 weeks. Now, before we even get there, you can think, well, Rob, I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not that smart. Hey, guess what? In this very first area that we're going to talk about, some of the smartest CEOs had more of a problem with it than those who weren't rocket scientists. And so that should help give hope for people like you and me, because we don't have to be brilliant. Secondly, you might say, well, I didn't go to any great university or school. Amazing statistic in this study. 7% of the Fortune 500 CEOs had gone to Ivy League institutions. Only 7%. That kind of surprised me. Okay. So I guess that's not as important as we would have thought originally. But listen to this. 8% of the Fortune 500 CEOs didn't even have a college education. They had not earned the degree. They might have gone to college for a while, but they didn't graduate. There was a more likely chance that somebody had not even finished college than that they had an Ivy League degree. So there's hope for you and I. This is about our behaviors and what we do. So let's get right into that first one. On this first one, the people who were superstar CEOs, they were 12 times more likely to show this behavior than the people who ended up getting fired. And you know what that was? They were decisive. They were decisive. They made decisions. As a matter of fact, the top CEOs said that often it's better to make a decision and get it wrong than to make no decision at all. Can you imagine that? It's better to make a bad decision than no decision. Why is that? Because if you make a bad decision, guess what? You find out what didn't work. You can learn from your mistake. You can keep going. You can say, okay, we're heading this direction. Hey, that didn't work out. Okay, what should we do? What do we learn from that? Okay, let's head this direction versus, well, we're not really sure what to do. We've got some people looking at that, not really come to any conclusions yet? It's like, come on. Well, how do you know whether or not you just need to make a decision, even if it's wrong, versus holding off? And one of the people mentioned in the article that I thought was really brilliant on that. He says, I just asked myself two questions. First question is, what are the consequences if I get this wrong? If there's really bad consequences if I get it wrong, well, then maybe we ought to wait on it a little bit. But most of the decisions you make, it's not like there's these horrible consequences. Secondly, who has to wait if I don't make a decision? Who am I slowing down by not making a decision? Well, let's just put this into our everyday lives. Let's suppose Don and I decide to go out to dinner with 3 other couples, and we're supposed to go somewhere, and we get this all set up, and they say, okay, that sounds great. Rob, pick a restaurant. And I go like, okay. And we know that we're going to be going on a Tuesday, and it's a week earlier, and it's like, where do you want to go? I don't know. I was looking at some stuff on Yelp. I'm not really sure. What do you think? I don't know. And all of a sudden, a few more days, where do you want to go? I don't know. Well, all of a sudden, it's the day before, and like, hey, we still going to dinner? Yeah. Where are we going to meet? Well, I don't know. I couldn't decide which restaurant to pick. Come on. Let's suppose you don't pick the best restaurant. Who cares? You're going to go out and have a great time with friends. So it might not have been the ultimate experience as far as the food goes, but there's really no bad consequences for picking a restaurant that wasn't the best one around. And so I can, in that situation, I can go like, you know what? It doesn't really matter. And so go ahead and make a decision. And because what happens if we answer the second question? Am I holding anybody up if I don't make that decision? The answer is yeah. There's all these people waiting for me to tell them where to meet. I can't do that because I couldn't make a stupid decision. Now, different situation. Don and I moved here to Atlanta many years ago because I was going to be working for John Maxwell, and we had to buy a house. So we move into an apartment, and we're looking around trying to find out which house to buy. Well, as we look around, all of a sudden we can't really find the perfect house for us. Or, maybe no house is going to be perfect, but probably the one we're in is as close as you can get. We love our house, but guess what? We couldn't find it right away. So what happens on that decision? What happens if you make a bad decision there? Well, then you get a house that you're stuck with that you don't like, or maybe you don't get the right deal on the house because you were in such a hurry. There's some bad consequences to that decision. Well, who gets slowed down if we didn't make a decision right away? No one. So we have to live in the apartment a few more months. Who cares? Maybe the realtor didn't like that because they didn't get their commission as early as they would have wanted to. But to tell the truth, it really didn't matter. And so in that situation, what you want to do is not make a decision right away. We're not slowing anyone down, and we really needed to get it right. You can apply that little grid to every decision that you make in your life. You can say, as a result of this decision, what are the consequences if I get it wrong? Usually they're not very bad. And then am I holding anyone else up if I don't make this decision? That's how great team leaders decide those things. Now, a couple other points I wanted to make here that came from the research. Number one, it's way better to make 1,000 decisions and get 900 of them right than it is to make 100 decisions and get them all perfect. So you make 100 decisions, they're all perfect, congratulations. But what about if you make 1,000 decisions, 900 of them are right? You know how much faster you're moving? And as a result of that, you will be able to keep your people moving. And the ones you get wrong, you can always go back to your customers or anyone else and say, hey, ends up we blew it there, I'm really sorry, what can we do to make it right? And that's a great relational tool either way. Finally, last point on this is the guys who get it right. Oh, let me go back and tell you. Remember I said that some of the smartest people, that they don't do as well on this? It ends up that the people with super high IQs, what they call them is slow decision makers because they're trying to overanalyze things and overthink it too often. And as a result of that, they make good decisions, but they're too slow. Here's what the research showed. Those people who did end up getting fired as CEOs, many of them got fired because they made bad decisions and they made horrible decisions, so they lost their job. But twice as many of those people got fired. You know why? Because they were either slow or no decision makers. Too little, too late, too often, and the board was tired of it. It's like, make a decision, keep our company moving forward. Hey, the last thing I wanted to tell you here is get a group of people around you who will give you their honest opinion. We've talked about this before. Patrick Lencioni's 5 Dysfunctions of a Team is the best ever in this area. His follow-up book, The Advantage, best book ever in organizational leadership. As a matter of fact, a summary of that was the free download last week. And so what you need to do is you need to get people around you who will continually tell you the truth. Then you can make better decisions. Hey, this is a little longer video than we normally do, but I wanted to set up the whole study. The first thing the best CEOs do, you know what they do? They make good decisions and they make them quickly. Be decisive. It's going to help you. Next week, we're going to look at the second behavior that the best CEOs in the world, the ones that they get right over and over again. It's very important. We'll see you next week.